All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Punch Me in the Face. I have probably if there's anybody better to be on a podcast named Punch Me in the Face, I have not met them. Nobody more qualified than Charles Rosa, Boston Strong. How you doing, brother?
All right, great, man. Happy, just got back from the gym, so, continuing my day, feeling good.
Love it. So if you don't know this, Charles, how long have you been fighting professionally for?
I've been fighting professionally 10 years now.
10 years. How old are you now?
37. So.
Okay, so he's been going at it for a decade. UFC guy, been all over the world, big events, kicked a lot of ass. And we got the ability to see him recently in Connecticut at Foxwoods Casino. Yep. What was that? I can't remember who was putting that on.
Yeah, it was for CES, Classic Sports Entertainment. I was the main event. The Birchfields, who are, they're notorious, some of the best boxing promoters on the planet. Yeah. They also do an MMA show, which is CES. And, I was able to go back home, main event, Foxwoods, and, picked up the big W. So it was a good weekend.
It was great to see you, first of all. Yes. And we were betting, because we were trying to find a place to take guys. So we were just betting each other on the fights. And then every fight, I would find people who want to bet me. Because you don't know, right? But then it was your fight, and I was like, yo, I'll take, and I didn't want to tell. I was like, I'll take Rosa, I'll take this guy. And nobody would bet again. Nobody would take the bet. Nobody. I'm like, dude, I'm serious. I'm good. I just want to take. They're like, no, I want Boston Strong. I'm like, no, I already got him. Yeah. I'll bet you 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. But nobody would take any action on you. Just so you want to know, they were smart. You won the fight. What round?
It was a second round. A minute into the second round, arm and guillotine. So I softened him up in the first round. Pretty much all my finishes are in the first round. So that was probably the second time in my whole career that someone made it out of the first round in a fight that I won. But
really,
so I was kind of mad when I went to the corner. My brother was like, "You look mad after the first round. Did he hit you or something?" I said, "No, I just thought I wanted to finish him in the first." He made tough kid. I mean, he's a veteran. He had 14 professional wins, 28. He had a lot of fights. Just came off of a boxing win, so it wasn't fighting a scrub. It wasn't usually the level I'm used to fighting, but it's high level. The guy's a professional fighter. That's all he does.
So you seemed really fired up, and obviously I was going to ask you that because you're a UFC veteran. So, I mean, you fought in some huge stages. I mean, as big as they get in mixed martial arts, and this was not a UFC stage.
Yep.
But you looked like, were you any less excited anymore? I mean, is it just a fight? Does it matter?
As crazy as it sounds, I feel like I was more excited because for the last 10 years I've been fighting in the UFC. I've been fighting all over the world, and only 3 times. My friends and family in the last 10 years, before that, they would come to every single one of my fights before that, and that was the promotion I came up in. But before that, the only 3 times I fought in Boston at the TD Garden, where the Celtics and the Bruins play, I was able to go back home and fight in front of my friends, families, and fans. I have the most all-time wins in Boston at the TD Garden out of any UFC fighter. Above above Conor McGregor, so I'm above him.
Wow.
And, it was a lot of it was always a lot of stress and pressure fighting in front of everyone because it's a fight and that's why we fight. Anything can happen, but I was so happy to go out there, bring everyone. And the best thing about it is it brings everybody together, friends, family, fans, everyone. It brings everyone together, and they're there for me. And I was happy to be able to shine and perform.
Well, they were definitely for you. They were everywhere. Yeah. We got there, well in advance of your fight, and they were everywhere. And I got the chance to meet your father.
Oh, awesome.
I'd never met.
I was hoping you would.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and, it's funny because I'm walking. We went the wrong way. God is great. Went the wrong way. We weren't supposed to. And he was there when we had to go back down. And he had, all your gear on. And I just knew, I was based on his age. And he's built like a brick shit house, right?
Yeah.
And I just introduced myself to him. And he's like, my God, I'm Charles' father. Your dad, you all have an amazing story. One of the things that I think we don't do a good enough job in society in talking about is I was raised you don't complain about nothing, you don't cry about nothing, you handle your shit, keep your shit to yourself and figure it out. Yeah. And I had significant substance abuse problems growing up. I liked smoking weed a lot, liked drinking a lot, I liked cocaine a lot, but I loved crack.
Yeah.
Loved crack. I've been sober now 23 years this past September, which is why I'm alive. You guys you've been through a lot, family-wise, and your dad's taken a stand. Your family has.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that and what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think this is a big part of the story is what makes me a fighter and who I am, because a lot of people are like, man, you seem like a really nice guy, But when you fight, you saw it like you go to this dark place and you flip a switch, and it's, my mother doesn't recognize me. It's like you awoken a monster, and what I think that's from is my childhood. When I was 16, and the following year when I was 17, I grew up in a big, large Italian family. Yeah. I had four brothers, five brothers and sisters. My two older brothers, Dominic and Vincent, when I was 16, and the following year when I was 17, overdosed on drugs and died. So I lost my two brothers, Dominic and Vincent, right in the middle of like the prime part of your life as you're growing, maturing as a man, 16 and 17 years old. And they were my role models, my mentors. They were everything. If they told me to do something, I did it. Like, and I always looked up to them and always had an answer. If somebody was bothering me, if I needed, a way to make money, if I needed something to do, I would just ask them and they would give me the answer. I always had a solution. They were both great kids, both triathletes, played sports. My brother Don was captain of the hockey team. Brother Vincent, he ran, children's hockey camps. They were both great kids, but it just, it's just the drugs, like it gets a hold of them. It just takes one time. My brother Vincent just tried a fentanyl patch for the first time, just thought it would be fun, and he passed away. And then my brother Dominic, I think, struggled with losing, his younger brother, and felt like he should have been there. And he started, abusing heroin and stuff like that, and got bad. And we lost him about a year and a half later. And I went from being the youngest brother to having, always somebody to look up to and answer to, help me with life, to being the oldest brother for my younger brothers who are 10 years younger than me, Lucas and Francis. Lucas is the #1 amateur fighter in the country now. I think you met him. Yeah. Great kid, but I went from being basically the youngest to the oldest all in 2 years, and it was definitely a lot for me. But that's what created me. That's what made me so strong. And I didn't give up. I didn't quit. There was a lot of times like that life got really hard, but I definitely had some tough things. You talked about your past, but I struggled a lot mentally and never really dealt with that. You know what I'm saying? So luckily I was able to graduate from college. I went to Johnson & Wales Culinary School, and I got a great career and able to graduate. It was by the skin of my teeth. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to pull it off and get my degree in culinary arts from Johnson & Wales, and that's kind of after that, I was having a hard time, like at the end of college, and I moved down to South Florida, and I moved down here to kind of, I was struggling, so I needed some help. So I came down here to change my life, and I was able to. So
you came down here. When did you realize you wanted to fight, like to make a living?
Oh, so I give you the rundown of that. Basically, I moved down here, and I was in like kind of like a treatment center type place. They gave me a therapist. They gave me, program things I had to do. I lived there for a while, and then, stayed in halfway houses and stuff. And basically, one of the things my therapist, who I still sometimes try to see today and stuff, I'm still in touch with her, great human being, was like, one of your directives today, Charles, because I was basically working at the restaurant. First directive she gave me was to get a job, so I got a job at the restaurant, found the best restaurant I could find at the time was Cut 432 on Atlantic Ave, was a steakhouse. Yeah. Walked in, they're like, we're not hiring. I'm like, freaking walked right in the back. I was at a different place mentally. I wasn't taking no for an answer at that time in my life because I needed a job, and this is where I wanted to work, and I was going to do it. And the same kind of way with my fighting career, went in, got the job. The chef was like, yep, all right. Like, what makes you think you can work here? I'm like, I went to culinary school. He's like, all right, well, you come in tomorrow. Did it, came back, and worked in the restaurant. But the way I was working every single day, how, I don't know if you know restaurants, but I was working like 50, 60 hours a weekend. I'm like, man, is this like what I want my life to be? I mean, this is right after college, so I stopped playing sports. Life slowed down a lot, and I'm in this tough spot, like mentally. Like, I went from playing sports from I was 3 years old all the way through college, and then it just stopped, and now I'm working a full-time job, 50, 60 hours a week, doing something I like, but I don't love. Like, I don't like making salads and steaks for people and telling me that it's overcooked and undercooked and having to, it's like, it's hard. And then mopping the floor at the end of the night, cutting onions, like having the chef yell at me all day. Like, I mean, it's, it's hard work and honest living. But I told my therapist, I said, this is how my life's going to be. This isn't what I moved down here for. This isn't what I went to school for. This isn't what I want to do. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing in Boston, like making a living, which wasn't the right way. And she's like, well, why don't I give you a new directive? Why don't you also, try to find a side hobby and try to find like a sport or something. Is there anything you like to do? My uncle, Tom the Bomb Rosa, was a local legend, tough man, New England boxing champion. So I was like, I always wanted to box. She's like, why don't you find a local boxing gym, and that's your directive for this week. And when you come back next week, tell me that you found a boxing gym. And I only had a bicycle at that time. For probably about the first 2 years in South Florida, I only had a bicycle. And I was riding my bike. I found this gym called American Top Team, rode past it, walked in, and the first day I walked into what I thought was a boxing gym, was an MMA gym, and met Charles McCarthy, who's still my coach today. I'm not sure if you got to meet him, but you might have met him in the cage after my fight.
Mm-hmm.
And man, like first day in the gym, he's like, I did the class. I was like, oh, I want to spar, I want to train. They're like, all right, we have a kickboxing class. Actually, in like the next 10 minutes, you can hop right in. Didn't have my own gloves, didn't have my own mouthpiece, but I hopped in the class and trained, and the kind of the rest is history. I fell in love with it and haven't stopped since.
So you'd never fought like in a boxing match? I mean,
No.
you fought.
No, we used to do like locker boxing and hockey and football. Like they would try to haze you and you have to stick up for yourself.
But no real, like, I've been in a ring, no lessons.
No.
Just you fought growing up, doing your thing.
Growing up. But I think, it's crazy because one of my best friends ended up, my friend Rico DeShula became, he was just on the Ultimate Fighter show with Conor McGregor, and he was the only one on Team Conor McGregor to get the knockout and the win. And like, we used to fight each other on the trampoline. Like my brothers would like, you guys go ahead, and they'd bring all their friends, and we used to have fights. Like we used to have a full size trampoline, and we used to have fights on it. And then when we weren't doing that in hockey, because we all played hockey, we would have locker boxing matches, which is just the hockey helmet and the gloves, and we used to go at it. And like you can say, well, yeah, there's nobody teaching us how to throw a jab or a punch, but you figure it out real quick. Once you get dropped a couple times, you're like, all right, well, I gotta keep my hands up. I gotta, tighten up my chin, and we learned, and we used to grapple each other on the trampoline. And man, that's I feel like that gave me a head start. And when I walked into that gym, an interesting story. The kid teaching the class at the time was Cole Miller. Had no idea who he was. He was a top 10 fighter in my division in the UFC at the time, and he was teaching the class when the first day I walked into American Top Team, and we did the whole class. I borrowed a pair of gloves. The last 15 minutes, like, okay, guys, sparring, and I was like, oh, nice, this is what I came here for. Like I thought I could smoke everybody in the whole place. I'm like, oh, this is what made me become a martial artist. But he's like, so I'm the only person without a partner, because like at the end of class, everyone's matched up, and I'm like by myself looking around like, man, no one wants to spar me. Like, oh, what's up, Yeah. And he's hitting the bag because he's the coach. He's just hitting the bag like, okay, guys, go ahead, spar, boom, boom. And I'm like, the sparring starts, like 20 seconds goes by, and I'm like, hey, what about you? You want to spar? He just ignored me, kept hitting the bag, and I was like, yo, what about you? You want to spar? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. And I go, all right, let's go. And like, I thought like he was just kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything. I just, well, first, no, he goes, what he said is he goes, oh, you don't have a partner. I go, what about you? And he goes, all right, you want to spar? Yeah, just asked you. Let's go. So he gets on the mat. We start going, boom. Sparred 3 rounds with him, fought my ass off. Like, I still feel I won the fight, but I'm sure he picked me apart. I was like, man, that kid's tough, man. Like, And the coach, Charles McCarthy, was, he was in his little glass room looking out. So after class, like, that was it. I survived the sparring, and Coach Charles McCarthy was like, man, he's like, man, you were really, really tough kid. You're good, man. Well, where did you train at before? I'm like, train? I'm like, I never trained anywhere. He's like, what do you mean you haven't trained? He's, are you serious? He's like, man, I'm not just spinning your wheels. Like, I think if you do this, you could really become something. He goes, that guy you were sparring is Cole Miller, top 10 fighter in the UFC. And man, a light bulb went off in my head. I said, man, if that guy, that skinny kid right there is in the UFC, and he'd been doing this for his whole career, and I just started, I go, I can do this. And I knew right away, and I did not stop coming since. You can ask Coach. I was there. If I wasn't working at the restaurant, I was there. So I'd wake up early, ride my bike to class, ride my bike home, hopefully have time to eat or not even eat. I just go to the restaurant and eat. Work from 3 to 11, go back to bed, do it every single day, 6 or 7 days a week. And on Sundays I was in the gym because I had the whole day free. Usually didn't have to work in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And man, that's what I did for like 2 or 3 years. And in that time frame, I became the #1 amateur fighter in the country. Didn't know I was going to be a UFC fighter. Like they told me, oh, you could do this, but I thought they were just spinning my wheels to try to get me to keep paying the monthly fee at the gym. Just keep me excited. Yeah. Like I didn't know. I just was like, yeah, these guys are crazy, but man, they were right. And I 10-year UFC career, 3-time fight of the night, 2-time performance bonus, fight of the year, my UFC debut, and man, I'm doing what I love to do, and now I'm really starting to get to enjoy the next phase of my career, where hopefully I can get like 1 or 2 big paydays and before I cash out and go on to coaching. But that's where I'm at now. So I'm feeling good about it.
Well, that's great. Hey, first of all, watching that entire night, you see dudes get banged up.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking
Oh,
good.
yeah, you saw the guy get his arm broken?
Sure did, dude.
Vicious.
What has been the most painful thing that's happened to you in the ring?
Right here, separated. I don't know if you can see it in the thing, but
Yeah, I can see
you can
it.
see it
Yeah.
separated AC joint right
so
here.
what happened? How'd
I
that
got
happen?
a guy in a triangle, and I don't know if those turned in familiar with a triangle. I'm on my back, lock my legs around their neck.
Okay.
Dude just does the rampage, pick me up, slam,
Boom.
boom, right on my neck and my arm, boom, shoulder pops out. The video's online. I was fighting for CES before the UFC. Shoulders out, fucking bone sticking out of my shoulder. First round, I'm like, oh, I thought I was just concussed. I didn't know where I was. I'm searching. I freaking grab his arm, boom, pop his arm, break his arm.
Really?
Stand up. I go to put my arms up. And I can't put my arm up. It's just not going. I'm like, what the hell? It's broken and my shoulder's dislocated, like hanging off. I'm like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. And I go to the corner. And it's funny because my dad was in my corner that fight, and he's like, oh, I thought it was just in between rounds. Like, I didn't know you won. Because like nobody could, only the ref knew I won because I was on the ground and I just kind of broke his arm, and like it was so quick because I was fighting. I was just desperate. I was going for freaking submissions, trying to finish the fight because I knew I was hurt, and I did. And man, I freaking won the fight, and like it was pretty special, you know. But it was the most painful thing I ever felt in my life. Just I fought basically a minute and a half with a dislocated shoulder, and I knew I was hurt. Like I don't know, it was the worst pain in my life. Like my shoulder just was. It's still like this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know, but luckily, I was able to.
So you broke his arm
after
he didn't tap, or he didn't even have a chance.
No,
to.
He
was too
screamed,
fast.
dude. Like he just screamed and verbally tapped. Actually, you know what? He actually was. He was tapping the mat, but I didn't feel it, so I broke it. I mean, I would have broke it either way until the ref pulls me off.
Exactly.
He was. That's the thing is people don't know when you tap, like, and I wouldn't even a fight. Like I don't really let go until the ref pulls like physically removes me because there's been times people tap and then they don't
stop it.
The ref doesn't see it and then they keep fighting and like a little cheat move. But he was tapping the mat, boom, 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 and the ref kept was like, get off of him, and I was like, he almost disqualified me, but I was like, dude, like he was tapping the mat, but he threw me off of him, and I was like, oh my God, my arms, shoulders broken. But that was a tough win. This kid Brian Van Arsdalen, but he almost that was a close call right there. He's so. And then I don't know if it was from that, but since then, 3 or 4 years ago, I had to get a neck fusion, and I think it was from that. Like,
that whole deal.
I think I herniated a disc, and I just was able to tough through it for like 4 or 5 years, but I always had symptoms in my neck since that incident. So, man, this fighting thing is no joke. It's a
real deal.
It's a real deal, man. Yeah.
Well, you always say people are cut different. You just, I think.
Most guys would have been done. Like, dude, that's the truth, though. Like,
I got to be honest with you. I mean, like, it's just one of those things where I think you don't know till you know, right? But I would agree with what you said earlier. I've known you now for, I've been in front of you plenty of times. I've gotten to see you. You are literally one of the nicest people I've met.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean that. Just a good, solid human being. And I was saying this to these guys when you were in Connecticut. I'm like, dude, as soon as you walked in the ring, and I'm watching from 30 feet away. I'm like, dude, he's like in a different place. Like we just see it. You just see it. Like he's in a different place. The most powerful thing that night, though, for me was I'm a huge, huge fan of giving back. You guys did the event. Obviously, looks like it sold out. The place was packed, and raised money.
Yep.
And it was for cancer. I didn't catch the whole thing.
Just to be, what happened is I didn't find out till like 3 days before. Otherwise, I feel like I would have tried to be more prepared and maybe put it on my shirts and stuff and walkout gear. But 3 days before I found out the promoter of the event, Pat Sullivan, great friend of mine. Like I said, the guy that helped propel me into the UFC, get me the fights, has been a great promoter for me, helping me since I made my professional debut. He lost his mother years ago, Joanne Sullivan, to breast cancer, and it was really tough for him. Obviously it's tough for anybody to lose their mother, but I don't know, it must have been a tough, long battle, and just having to take care of her and all that and stuff. And the event specifically was in memory and to raise money for breast cancer awareness. And when I found that out, the day before, I was like, man, you know what? I think I'm not getting as much money as I usually get for these fights, but I want to donate my win money to the Joanne Sullivan Memorial Fund, which I did, and I won the fight, and I was able to present that to him. And like I said, my coach was like, man, well, you're giving away your win money. Like, you fought for that, hard for that. Like, you need that money to pay your bills and stuff. But I'm a true believer, and when you give something, I think it comes back to you. And that's the way I live my life. I mean, obviously I need money to eat and do stuff like that, but I got money to eat. I got money to pay my rent, at least enough for now. And if I can give back and, maybe I just feel like the universe comes back. And that's not why I did it only, but that's just how I live. And I feel like ever since I started doing things for not just myself and helping other people, I think my life's gotten better. So I just wanted to continue to do that. So.
Well, I think that's the other thing. Whether it's fighting, sports, business, your just personal life. One of the things I think that's hard to get people to understand is that is true.
Yeah.
Like it does work, and the reality really is when you look at how fortunate all of us are on different levels, right?
Yes.
But for me, I was taught that at a very young age, and it's probably the single biggest reason I've been able to be successful. Is if you continue to do the right thing when you're blessed to go through things and to be rewarded financially, you are obligated to give back. But you go to sporting events where like Dunkin' Donuts or I don't want like Starbucks, they'll give away like $500. Yeah. Like if you hit 3 half-court shots, or we're going to donate $500 to the Boys and Girls Club, and it's like, dude, you're this huge corporation with, and then you are like giving away half the money that you literally fought your ass off for, where you could break.
Like fought for it. I actually fought for it. Yeah.
Fought for it.
Yeah.
Like actually fought for it, won it, and then said, "Here, guys, take it." So I already was a big fan. I was a bigger fan after that happened.
Thank you.
You're in the works for your next fight, which will be here at the Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm hoping I have a call set up with George Masvidal this week. Gamebred FC, January 21st, Hard Rock. It's not official. The contract's not signed. Don't have an opponent yet, but that's the plan. I mean, I think I can get back in there with the best in the world, and do it in the backyard down where I live, and have all my friends and fans. Like the one thing about me is that not a lot of people know. Before my UFC career, I was the #1 amateur fighter in the country, and I fought in Florida. I didn't fight in Boston. I didn't start fighting until I moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. So like I know I say Boston strong, but I've been here for 13 years now, and if as far as when I started fighting in the fight game, man, I was the king of Florida for a long time, and now my little brother has taken over and taken my spot as the #1 amateur in the fighter in the country, not just in Florida, but in the entire country. Just beat the #1 guy from Alabama. Before that, beat like the number 2 guy.
Amateur boxer?
No, MMA fighter.
MMA. Okay, so he's #1. Okay.
And before him, I had, my record was 19-1. My only loss was a split decision, which was bullcrap, and like Alabama, because the refs and the judges were all from Alabama, and I won. But regardless, but it's the name of the fight game. But man, I was the top amateur in the country before that. And
how old's your brother?
He's 26. So
what's his plan?
We're gonna turn him
UFC.
pro. We're gonna turn him loose next fight. So I think the thing that people don't know, and this is the big mistake, and something that my coach Charles McCarthy has helped me with tremendously, is like by the time that you make your professional debut, it could be a year for me. But the day I made my professional debut to the time that I got a call for the UFC fight against the number 8 guy in the world in another country on 5 days' notice was 18 months. So in that time is when I hurt my shoulder. So if that didn't happen, it could have been 1 year. So by the time you make your professional debut, in my mind, you need to be at the level of a UFC fighter. And by the time you make your UFC debut, you need to be ready to be the UFC champion. And that's like the thing that people don't understand. Like they put these guys in too soon against different levels, and you need the experience. You need to know what it's like to put a belt on. You need to know how to win a championship. You need to know how it's like to fight 5 rounds. You need to know what it's like to get hit and get a cut in a fight and to keep fighting, to get blood in your eyes and it's squirting in your eyes and you're still fighting. Like these are things that, you don't want to happen, but these are things that you need to sometimes encounter, or what it's like to get like your eyes swollen shut and to keep fighting, or maybe you check a kick and your shin's like bruised and you can't step on your ankle. Like you don't want to be the first time encountering all these things in the moment and not know what to do. So I feel like all these amateur fights and the experience, you make a lot of mistakes in the amateurs. You still sometimes, but in the amateurs, you still can pull off the wins. You make a big mistake, you can win. But at the highest level in the UFC, you make one mistake, it costs you the fight. So, that's a tough part about it. So you need to be completely well prepared. You need to know what it's like to be a champion, how to act like a champion, how to win a belt, how to defend a belt. These guys, sometimes they win the belt, they don't even know how to put it on. Like, what do I do with it? You want to have all that ready. You want to get all those things like sanded out before.
So you actually got your debut. You had 5 days notice. So it fell through, obviously, or something happened.
Yeah, my UFC debut. So the way the UFC works is they call you up. It's like getting a call to the majors. Like all of a sudden you're in AAA, and they say, hey, we want you to pitch next week in San Diego. We're gonna have you go pitch for the Yankees. You can be on the Yankees, and you're gonna pitch against the Padres. And you're like, oh, me? Okay, awesome. Like, and you go make your debut. So the UFC calls, but you need to be ready for that call. Like, what do you, if you're the pitcher, you're going to say, no, I don't want $10 million to go. I'm just going to stay in AAA and keep winning these, be the best, all-star AAA pitcher. Like, no, I'm taking that money. I'm taking that deal. It doesn't matter if I'm going against the best hitting team in baseball. I'm going.
So you got a call, and they told you fight in 5 days?
Yes.
Against the number 8 guy in the world?
Yes.
So they called you up. Hey, Charles, what country was it in?
Get a phone call from Dana White. Hey, we're going to, Charles, you ready to make your UFC debut? Absolutely. I said, yeah. Like,
have you spoken to Dana White before that?
No.
Never. He called you himself?
Yeah, called me. And said, 5 days notice, we got Dennis Seaver. And I go, Dennis Seaver? I was like, yeah. Stockholm, Sweden. Dennis Seaver at the time was a European champion of the world, number 8 guy in the world, absolute monster, notorious steroid beast. Like, the guy is a brick. Like you said, Brick Shed. I was this guy, a guy that I was a fan of, like a guy I used to watch. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I'm fighting Dennis Seaver. Holy shit. But, in my head, I'm a fighter. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to beat him. I'm 9-0, have all first-round finishes. As confident, young, 27 years old as you could be as an athlete. And I took the fight. And I took the fight. Obviously, I wasn't going to say no, like, because you get that call, you say yes, that's it. But it kind of hit me after as I'm like, man, I'm 178 pounds right now, and I'm supposed to fight at 145 pounds in 5 days. So I need to cut 33 pounds in 5 days. And I have to fly to Sweden and Europe to fight.
Okay, so what happened to his regular opponent? Something had to happen.
He got injured.
He got hurt. So he was going to fight somebody else.
Yep.
That guy's out. 5 days ahead of time. They go through a list.
Need a replacement.
Dana White's got to find somebody.
I'm the number 1 prospect in the country.
Got it.
And they could go through. They probably did is they called a couple guys on the roster. Said, hey, you want to fight Dennis Seaver?
They're like, no.
I ain't fighting that guy. You crazy? Like, that's it. So
you cut 33 pounds
in 5 days. My UFC debut.
How the fuck did you do that?
I just did what they told me, man. I was so mentally strong at the time. Like, they got a nutritionist guy to come in and tell me what to do. But I was so mentally.
You cut 33 pounds.
Yeah, and luckily they have good saunas in Sweden. But man, I almost died doing it. Like, I'll never forget, like, going on the bus. I was like so dehydrated, obviously. But regardless, bottom story. Besides it being the toughest thing, you could say, how did you do it? But I did it because of my mind. Like, it was because I was willing to go to that dark place to be able to take my body mentally to cut those extra pounds. Like, I sat in the sauna at the end of the weight cut after I cut 32 pounds. I had 1 more pound to go. I sat in the sauna with my coach, Mike Brown, for 45 minutes before I broke a sweat on the last end of the cut because he was soaked. He was sweating like, dude, going in and out. He's like, you sweating yet? He's like, and my manager wanted to cut the weight cut. He's like, dude, we're like, no, like, you're going to die, dude.
Yeah.
But, like, my coach pushed me, and mentally I said, no, I'm not getting out because it's not a good look when you don't make weight for your fights. It's like, lack of discipline or whatever. And luckily I did make weight because that was I got fight of the night, was fight of the year contender, and I got an extra $50,000 bonus.
Did you beat him?
No, I lost a split decision.
It was a split decision,
yeah.
though. Damn.
So
it was one hell of a fight.
You could still lose and get fight of the night.
Got it.
It's such a close fight and such an amazing fight. Dude, the crowd I was devastated. I mean, when I lost, I was devastated, man. I was the worst. I can't remember many times in my life.
What did he say to you after the fight?
Well, he was German, so he said
something.
Oh, he
doesn't say nothing.
But
his idea what he said.
His coaches came in the locker room with him, and his coaches told him, he said, hey, man, one day, because this guy's fought in the world champions. He's fought in the best. His fight right after me was Conor McGregor. Like, he fought the best guys on the planet. These coaches, like, you're going to be the champion one day. Like, they said it in a German accent. Like, man, you're special. Like, we did not think you would be this tough. Like, I had the guy, and I broke his. And that's the thing too, is like, people don't understand is the difference of the levels. Like, when you go to the UFC, these guys are literally willing to, like, die in there. Like, I've gotten 5 or 6 arm bars, like, in the UFC. And, like, for example, the guillotine I just got last fight. The guy's very good. But in the UFC, the guy would have been sleeping. They don't tap out. You get an arm bar. I got a knee bar on Dennis Seaver, my UFC debut, popped his knee. I heard crack, crack.
Kept going.
Dude, he friggin' turned around and friggin' kicked me, punched me with his arm, and then kicked me with his leg. Like, the same one I popped. Like, you're fighting for a lot of money, so you're not gonna.
And they're they're fucking warriors.
Savages,
they're
dude.
fucking
Like,
savages.
Real
That's the
samurais,
better way.
yeah.
They're fucking savages.
Absolute fucking savages.
Well, you're a fucking savage.
Exactly.
They're fucking savages.
It. So you put 2 savages in, and people like to watch that, and that's what the UFC. And
so you're saying these guys typically just don't tap the fuck out?
No, I mean, I've in my life, I've gotten in the UFC, I've gotten 6 arm bars. I've only finished 1, And the 6 that I didn't finish, I popped the guy's arm, and he fucking pulled it out and hit me with it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say popped it, like they say, oh, you broke the bone. No, but like in between your ligaments, your joints,
fucking
crack, crack, you know, pull it out, boom, hit you with it, and you're like, what the hell, man? It's not like in training room where you get an arm bar. Like you get an arm bar, they just tap out, fight's over. So, man, it's different, and that's the difference when people ask me like, well, what's the difference of the UFC and these other leagues? And I mean, it depends who you're fighting, of course, but that's usually it. Like, if you got a guy that's a UFC level fighter, they're not that much better than these other guys. It's not that they're more skilled; they're just more willing to put it all on the line.
They're just
they're
a fucking savage.
They don't quit.
And these other guys aren't.
Yeah, like so, that was my welcome to UFC.
Well, because you see a lot of people, and they'll send you these things on Instagram, these memes, and dudes will say, I'll fucking die. Like, I will die in there.
It's different when you actually fight someone that's willing to die.
No, but I'm saying, the people in there that say, but there's you guys, I'm like, dude, they mean it. Yeah. My buddy sent me, I don't remember who it was. I tried to catch all these names, and I'm like, dude, you have to understand, they fucking mean it. Well,
that's why you see me when I walk out to the fight, and you're like, man, this guy's like really turned, like Charles is really turned up. He looks like in a different state of mind. Well, I'm willing to die in there. Like, if you get my arm and you're gonna break it, it's gonna break. I'm not gonna tap out. If you get me in a choke or a neck crank, like it's gonna break my neck. I'm not tapping. Like, it might, people will say I'm stupid, but that's the mentality I have to put myself in to be able to be as successful as I've been in fighting. And there is people that are just as talented, maybe more talented than me, but they haven't got as far as me because they don't have that mentality.
Well,
it's like the kill or be killed mentality, and it's a real thing. And that's what can separate somebody that's just good to somebody that's great, and that's what makes a difference.
Is he the best fighter you've ever fought?
No, I think, well, depends which way. You know, I think he was the strongest, scariest fighter I've ever fought. Like, I was like, never have been intimidated by, I feel like, anybody, but it was definitely, you know, he tested positive before and after the fight for steroids, and like he was just an absolute German.
So you could use steroids?
No, you can't. He got banned and flagged, and like it was back in the day, so the rules were different. Like now it would have been overturned, but
you would have won. It was.
I actually would have. Yeah, I would have had a win. Would have been a win on my record, but the rules were different 10 years ago when I made my debut. But that's no excuse. It's just what it is. It's the name of the game. But I would say the best guy, in far as rankings wise, I ever fought, a guy that I beat was Yair Rodriguez. I fought him in Mexico City, his hometown. He's from Chihuahua, Mexico, and I actually lost a split decision to him. But in his hometown, like 25,000 people, sold out arena in Mexico, pay-per-view, right before Eddie Alvarez and TJ Dillashaw, Dominic Cruz. It was on the big card. Like actually, it was the heavyweight championship of the world. Verdum versus I forget the dude's name, but it was like I was 2 fights before that, like pay-per-view, and man, I beat the crap out of him. They go to the judges. I lose by split decision. Devastated. But Yair Rodriguez, 4 years after that, ended up becoming the UFC champion of the world in my weight class. So even though, like, I mean, I feel like I have a win over him. He knows that too, but it's the name of the game, you know?
Who's the best fighter on the planet right now?
I think, well, in my weight class?
Yeah.
Volkanovski, Alexander Volkanovski. I was actually scheduled to fight him at one point in my career, but I think he got an injury and didn't happen. But, I mean, I think he's one of the better guys in the world. He just, this is it, you know. There's so many levels to it. It's tough, you know. Any of these guys that you see in the UFC, they're all capable of being the champion. Like, that's why the UFC signs you, is because they see potential. They see, like, man, this guy can be a superstar. Like Conor McGregor. Every person the UFC signs, they think has the potential to be a Conor McGregor. If they don't think that there's that potential, even if you're really good, like I've seen guys that are incredible, but if you can't talk, if you can't walk the walk, if you can't do the media stuff, the things they need you to do on top of the fighting,
Conor McGregor does really fucking
like,
well.
Dude, like it's not worth it. You know, so.
You never fought McGregor?
No. I actually, like I said, I've met him a few times. We fought on the same card in Boston a few times. I'm tight with his coach.
Was he cool?
Yeah, he's great, man. He's anybody that watched the Ultimate Fighter show, my best friend Rico DeSchulo, kid I grew up with since I was a little kid in Boston. We grew up together. Just had a chance to be on the Ultimate Fighter show, and he got picked on Team McGregor. So Team McGregor lost, out of his 8 fights, he lost the first 7. So he was about to get swept by Michael Chandler's team, and my boy Rico was the last one, and dude, he knocked the dude out. So Conor loves my boy. He let him drive his Ferrari. Like, it's on if you watch the Ultimate Fighter show, he let him drive his Ferrari. He was good. I got to go to the fight, meet him. He's a stand-up guy. I mean, to me, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing people say about Dana, like, oh, is Dana an asshole, this and that. Well, he's always treated me with respect and told me, well, if he said he was going to do something, he did. He never lied to me. So there's nothing bad I can say. I'm like, as far as, fighter pay and stuff, I think the fighters should get paid more, but
100%.
I don't know who, I mean, of course they're running a business. They're not trying to pay people, give money away either. So I don't know. It is what it is.
Is your brother a savage?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Lucas is he's
savage.
He's the king of monsters. They
So
call him. That's his nickname.
he's going to be a fucking champion.
Yeah, I really believe it. And the thing he has that I didn't have is, he has a similar upbringing as me. But, while I was playing football, hockey, getting into trouble, I mean, he's never smoked a cigarette, drank a sip of beer, drank even a sip of coffee in his entire life. The kid, he's a straight edge kid and he's a hard worker. And, well, like I said, while I was playing football and hockey and these other sports, he was wrestling. So he
was doing his deal.
He was a martial artist. And he had a twin brother, Francis. He has an identical twin. So I used to make them fight and stuff when they were kids. Like we had to, make them go at it. So
that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair for Francis.
Well, Francis is tough, man.
He's tough too.
Francis goes to another level, man. So
love it.
Francis was an amazing wrestler too. I think he was also state champion in his division. So, but Lucas decided decided to keep fighting and stuff like that, and Francis did went his way and does his thing. But man, like he has that, and then on top of it, he has me. He has a real coach that has experience, that knows what he's doing. I had great coaches, but no one like me. I believe, I've had awesome mentors and people in my life, but nobody that cares as much as me and has the knowledge I have. I've had the, knowledge to be able to travel around the entire planet, go into different countries, Cambodia, Thailand, learn Muay Thai in Thailand, Brazil, training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all Japan, like judo, like all the best training in the entire planet. Being here in America, we have the best wrestling and the best boxing, like going to the train with Floyd Mayweather's gym, like everywhere in the world. I've traveled all over, getting the best training, and I'm picking up all the knowledge, and now I can pass it down to my brother. And that's the beauty of mixed martial arts, is like the lineage of, you pass down the knowledge, but you pass it down and you hope that you have the blueprint to make that guy better than you were.
Yeah.
My coach did that with me. He had 5 UFC fights. I've had 14, and hopefully my brother will have 100,
Sure, I'm sure he will, dude. Well, it's funny, at the end of your fight, we'll wrap up with this. I had a guy say, he wasn't even talking to me. And he said, man, you would never know. Because you can't, first of all, you don't know when you look at anybody before they do anything. And all he said to his buddy, and they're cocked, and he said, man, I would hate to see that guy in a bar and think, man, I can kick his ass until, you know what I mean? Because you just don't. He said a lot of things that are so fucking powerful today. And I think, I had a guy say to me the other day, I know him through business, and he said to me, when I was 21, my daughter was born, and it was my first child, and the doctor came in to tell me that she had these significant medical issues and she wasn't going to live very long. Yeah. Now, she lived 21 years with severe disabilities and the whole deal. And he said to me, so when people think the stuff they're going through, or that he basically said, you can't fuck with me. Yeah. Like, I've been there and back. And I think we all have had our own stuff, and it's how to respond to it. Kind of to your point, what you did. And I think what we always try to do here is help empower people. And you've done a hell of a job. You have a hell of a story.
No, I appreciate it.
You really do. And I think it's one you should share more on bigger platforms. And if I can help with that, I will.
Oh, I love it,
but
man.
I love having you around. Love having you. I love just being in your presence, dude.
Yeah, no, and just to top what you said, like to go on, is like that's what my dad did with the Chucky's fight. Like I don't know if I mentioned it, but like when I lost my 2 older brothers, Dominic and Vincent, my dad, started jumping in the ocean to go visit them every day because we put their ashes in the ocean. And that was his way of dealing with it. But after about him doing that for a year, even jumping in every single day when it's blizzard, snowstorm, -10 degrees, all year round, they started educating teens on substance abuse, and they started raising money to get that Chucky's fight to grow. And that's what he's done. We've used turned something so negative into something positive. And that's what I think there's a lot of things in life are about. And that's what, I appreciate the message that you're sending.
Well, I appreciate it. We can do anything to help out with Chucky's fight. We will. Charles Rosa, Boston Strong. Follow him on Instagram. What is it? Is it The Real? What's your Instagram handle?
Charles Rosa, MMA.
MMA. Follow him. If you see him, don't fuck with him. If you're in a bar and you think it's a good idea, it's not a good idea. He's willing to die. You're not. But imagine if you took whatever you're doing in your life and you'd be willing to make any sacrifice you could to provide for your family, to do the things you want to do, to be better at your business, better at any capacity. And it's here. And you got it. I'm honored that we met a while back. He come in and helped us with the Millionaire Maker show and knocked some people around a little bit, which is cool. I just saw Ethan yesterday. He's like, tell me I want to take him up on a lesson.
Nice.
So no, he wants to come in. So I want to get a lesson. I said, all right. He's all excited. So, but hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, like, share. If you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, and we will push, if it happens, you sign it. We'll announce it. We'll get everybody to go there. We'll be there. We'll pile in and we'll support you in any way we can.
Let's do
And
it.
I love you, brother. And I
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
you
man.
more
I appreciate
than you know,
you having me on, man.
Of course, dude. Always, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.